Hi, everyone. Welcome to Florence Scovel Shinn, and we are reading and continuing her wonderful book, The Game of Life. I've got 4 books in one, and this is the first book, and we're continuing on today. Hello, Elaine. We're going to continue on with the chapter on perfect self-expression or the divine design. So, let's go back to this last little bit. There is always the perfect balance of giving and receiving. And though man shall give without thinking of returns, he violates the law if he does not accept the returns which come to him. For all gifts are from God, man being merely the channel. A thought of lack should never be held over the giver. For example, when the man gave me the 1 cent, I did not say, "Poor man, he cannot afford to give me that." I saw him rich and prosperous with his supply pouring in. It was this thought which brought it. If one has been a bad receiver, he must become a good one and take even a postage stamp if it is given him and open up his channels for receiving. The Lord loveth a cheerful receiver as well as a cheerful giver. I have often been asked why one man is born rich and healthy, another poor and sick. Where there is an effect, there is always a cause. There is no such thing as chance. This question is answered through the law of reincarnation. Man goes through many births and deaths until he knows the truth which sets him free. He is drawn back to the earth plane through unsatisfied desire to pay his karmic debts or to fulfill his destiny. The man born rich and healthy has had pictures in his subconscious mind, and his past life of health and riches, and the poor and sick man of disease and poverty. Man manifests on any plane the sum total of his subconscious beliefs. However, birth and death are man-made laws. For the wages of sin is death, the Adamic fall in consciousness through the belief in 2 powers. The real man, spiritual man, is birthless and deathless. He was never born and has never died. As he was in the beginning, he is now and ever shall be. So through the truth, man is set free from the law of karma, sin, and death, and manifests the man made in his image and likeness. Man's freedom comes through his fulfilling his destiny, bringing into manifestation the divine design of his life. And we talked about the divine design last week, and it was perfect health. It's like a square: perfect health, perfect wealth, perfect love, perfect self-expression, which we call today work. His Lord will say unto him, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things," death itself, "enter thou into the joy of thy Lord, eternal life." Now, we're going into the next section of this book called Denials and Affirmations. Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. All the good that is to be made manifest in man's life is already an accomplished fact in divine mind, and it is released through man's recognition or spoken word. So he must be careful to decree that only the divine idea be made manifest, for often he decrees through his idle words failure and misfortune. It is therefore of the utmost importance to word one's demands correctly, as stated in a previous chapter. If one desires a home, a friend, a position, or any other good thing, make the demand for the divine selection. For example, Infinite Spirit, open the way for my right home, my right friend, my right position, and I would add my right relationship, because that's a big topic. And I give thanks. It now manifests under grace and in a perfect way. Now, remember, Florence and Neville are different. Neville goes, you can pick a specific person and imagine that and manifest a specific person. Florence, on the other hand, is more open-handed and praying for the divine selection. So they don't agree necessarily in this way, but I see them as two halves of a nut, and you just pick whichever way you prefer. The latter part of the statement is most important. For example, I knew a woman who demanded $1,000. Her daughter was injured. And they received $1,000 in indemnity, so it did not come in a perfect way. The demand should have been worded in this way. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that the $1,000, which is mine by divine right, is now released and reaches me under grace and in a perfect way. As one grows in financial consciousness, he should demand that the enormous sums of money, which are his by divine right, reach him under grace and in perfect ways. It is impossible for man to release more than he thinks is possible, for one is bound by the limited expectancies of the subconscious. He must enlarge his expectancies in order to receive in a larger way. Man so often limits himself in his demands. For example, a student made the demand for $600 by a certain date. He did receive it, but heard afterwards that he came very near receiving $1,000, but he was given just $600 as the result of his spoken word. They limited the Holy One of Israel. Wealth is a matter of consciousness. The French have a legend giving an example of this. A poor man was walking along a road when he met a traveler who stopped him and said, "My good friend, I see you are poor. Take this gold nugget, sell it, and you will be rich all your days." The man was overjoyed at his good fortune and took the nugget home. He immediately found work and became so prosperous that he did not sell the nugget. Years passed and he became a very rich man. One day he met a poor man on the road. He stopped him and said, "My good friend, I will give you this golden nugget, which if you sell it will make you rich for life." The mendicant took the nugget, had it valued, and found it was only brass. So we see the first man became rich through feeling rich, thinking the nugget was gold. Every man has within himself a golden nugget. It is his consciousness of gold, of opulence, which brings riches into his life. In making his demands, man begins at his journey's end. That is, he declares he has already received. Before ye call, I shall answer. Continually affirming establishes the belief in the subconscious. Now, I know on YouTube there's a lot of stuff about robotic affirming, but you don't have to do it like that. You do it with a sense of joy, and you do it with a sense of I'm changing my consciousness. So that whole thing, it's like that might be the way some people do it, and then they get, in a spiral of feeling anxious and all this stuff, but it doesn't have to be that way. And Florence is really big on affirmations. There's a part of this book in the middle of the spine. She's got quite a few pages, and it's just of pages of affirmations for different things. So you don't have to plug into the whole robotic affirming trend, okay? Because it's a big topic on YouTube, and it's unnecessary to do it that way. Continually affirming establishes a belief in the subconscious. It would not be necessary to make an affirmation more than once if one had perfect faith. One should not plead or supplicate, but give thanks repeatedly that he has received. The desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. This rejoicing, which is yet in the desert state of consciousness, opens the way for release. The Lord's Prayer is in the form of command and demand. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and ends in praise. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Concerning the works of my hands, command ye me. So prayer is command and demand, and praise and thanksgiving. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Prayer is command and demand. Open, Infinite Spirit, open the way for. There's the command, the demand, but not in a demanding way. It's just asking. Abraham Hicks calls it ask and it is given. So they're all said in slightly different ways. Okay. The student's work is in making himself believe that with God all things are possible. This is easy enough to state in the abstract, but a little more difficult when confronted with a problem. For example, it was necessary for a woman to demonstrate a large sum of money in a stated time. She knew she must do something to get a realization. For realization is manifestation, and she demanded a lead. Now, Florence is big on leads and hunches, okay? It's asking, Infinite Spirit, I'm open to a lead and hunch, and you wait for those things to come. It might be a feeling, it might be an intuition to go and do something, and you follow your leads and hunches. She was walking through a department store when she saw a very beautiful pink enamel paper cutter. She felt this pull towards it. The thought came, I haven't a paper cutter good enough to open letters containing large checks. So she bought the paper cutter, which the reasoning mind would have called an extravagance. When she held it in her hand, she had a flash of a picture of herself opening an envelope containing a large check. And in a few weeks, she received the money. The pink paper cutter was her bridge of active faith. Many stories are told of the power of the subconscious when directed in faith. For example, a man was spending the night in a farmhouse. The window of the room had been nailed down, and in the middle of the night he felt suffocated and made his way in the dark to the window. He couldn't open it, so he smashed the pane with his fist, drew in draughts of fine fresh air, and had a wonderful night's sleep. The next morning, he found he had smashed the glass of a bookcase, and the window had remained closed during the whole night. He had supplied himself with oxygen simply by his thought of oxygen. When a student starts out to demonstrate, he should never turn back. Let not that man who wavers think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A colored student once made this wonderful statement. When I ask the Father for anything, I put my foot down and I says, Father, I'll take nothing less than I've asked for, but more. So man should never compromise. Having done all, stand. This is sometimes the most difficult time of demonstrating. The temptation comes to give up, to turn back, to compromise. He also serves who only stands and waits. Demonstrations often come at the 11th hour because man then lets go, that is, stops reasoning, and infinite intelligence has a chance to work. Man's dreary desires are answered drearily, and his impatient desires, long delayed, are violently fulfilled. For example, a woman asked me, why is it that she was constantly losing or breaking her glasses? We found she often said to herself and others with vexation, I wish I could just get rid of my glasses. So her impatient desire was violently fulfilled. when she should have demanded was perfect eyesight. But what she registered in the subconscious was simply the impatient desire to be rid of her glasses, so they were continually being broken or lost. Two attitudes of mind cause loss. Depreciation, as in the woman who did not appreciate her husband, or fear of loss, which makes a picture of loss in the subconscious. When a student is able to let go of his problem, cast his burden, and that's where that affirmation comes from that I often use. I cast this burden of fear, impatience, unlovedness, neediness upon the God within, and I go free. That comes from Florence. So you can put any word in there. Fear, whatever, worry, anxiety, suffering, brokenheartedness, you can put whatever word in there and repeat it over and over. And it's meant to release you from that you've got going on. Now, when a student is able to let go of his problem, cast his burden, he will have instantaneous manifestation. For example, a woman was out during a very stormy day and her umbrella was blown inside out. She was about to make a call on some people whom she had never met, and she did not wish to make her first appearance with a dilapidated umbrella. She could not throw it away as it did not belong to her. So in her desperation, she exclaimed, "Oh God, you take charge of this umbrella. I don't know what to do." A moment later, a voice behind her said, "Lady, do you want your umbrella mended?" There stood an umbrella mender. She replied, "Indeed I do." The man mended the umbrella while she went into the house to pay her call, and when she returned, she had a good umbrella. So there is always an umbrella mender at hand on man's pathway when one puts the umbrella or situation in God's hands. One should always follow a denial with an affirmation. For example, I was called on the phone late one night to treat a man whom I'd never seen. He was apparently very ill, and I made the statement, "I deny this appearance of disease. It is unreal, therefore cannot register in his consciousness. This man is a perfect idea in divine mind, pure substance expressing perfection. There is no time or space in divine mind, therefore the word reaches instantly its destination and does not return void. I have treated patients in Europe and I have found that the results were instantaneous." I am asked so often the difference between visualizing and visioning. Visualizing is a mental process governed by the reasoning or conscious mind. Visioning is a spiritual process governed by intuition or the superconscious mind. So I'm going to just explain it a bit further. Visualizing is you doing an upload to source, and you are very specific about what images you are using and what it is you want to manifest. And you are, doing an upload, whereas the visioning is sitting quietly, calmly, receptively, in receiving mode, so it's more of a download, the visioning, if we're using our words from today, okay? So the student should train his mind to receive these flashes of inspiration and work out the divine pictures. Elaine, you want to ask something before I go on?
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So with the visioning and the visualizing, right before I go to sleep, I try to do the visualizing. Or is that
Yeah.
visioning?
It
That would
depends. Are you listening or are you trying to imagine something in particular?
So I'm doing your guided meditations, the inner child work, but then also the SP one. So when I do your guided meditations, I see my person, but I
Yeah.
also see my younger self as well. So I do that right before I fall asleep. But typically right before I'm falling asleep, I'm thinking these really wonderful thoughts about my person. But then when I'm asleep, I'll wake up with I'll just say, I guess I wake up with these like fearful thoughts and they
Yeah.
feel very real. And they're the complete opposite of what I went to sleep in
Mm.
to. So is that God kind of, is that me getting a flash of what I should um believe? I don't know if I don't know how to ask this question, to be honest with you. It's like those are those fearful thoughts, or are those the thoughts I'm supposed to follow, since I did the guided meditation and then I fell asleep, but then I woke up in the middle of the night with a totally different set of visions.
I think when you go to sleep, you're doing a visualization, unless you're doing the inner child one. The inner child one is more of a feeling meditation. Like sometimes the inner child will give you a memory. Sometimes you just have the feeling and you don't remember any specific visuals. You just know that you felt rejected or unloved, and it was pretty consistent throughout your childhood. So the feeling's very familiar.
Okay.
So, but the SP ones, where you're going through a guided thing, that's a visualization, it's an upload. What you're getting in the middle of the night is just your classic waking up and freaking out, and it's just your emotions are 3 o'clock in the morning, waking up in the morning. They're two of the biggest danger zones in the day for a lot of people. Is those when you get up to go to the bathroom, you come back, or you wake up and you've had a bad dream, like third party dreams, stuff like that. And you wake up and you just feel, like you feel really anxious and really stressed. I wouldn't take what happens in the middle of the night or when you wake up in the morning as I would say that's usually more your fear state rather than your intuitive downloading state. The download is when you get messages and you go, ah, I didn't think of that. Wow, thank you. Like you'll get relief from your download, you'll get relief from the information that comes in.
Okay.
Yeah, so one's listening. You'll get pictures, you'll hear a voice, you'll have a feeling. You will, sometimes people get like writing on the black screen of their mind, like say it's black and they see white writing, like a word. You might see a photograph. You might see a little, like a YouTube, where it's just a little video. It's Source will talk to us in different ways, depending on which are your strongest skills. Sometimes you'll hear a voice and you know exactly whose it is. So
Thank you.
it's, yeah, just be, if you feel not very good, it's usually your fears or your fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of loss.
Okay. I know
Mm.
this might sound really out there, but I guess the thing that I thought it was, remember we talked about thought transmission?
Yes.
I'm like, is somebody sending me a thought that I'm supposed to pay attention to, or is this just a fear-based thought that I really just need to process,
Mm.
heal, and release? That's where that came from. I was just a
Mm.
little bit unsure.
Okay. What I would do in that case is one of two things. I would sit down and do some automatic writing where you sit down and you go, you put me, dot, dot, source, I need help decoding this. Is this someone sending me something, or is this my own stuff that I got to work through? And then you put your pen down, you sit quietly, and you just wait and you see what comes. The second thing I would try is there's a meditation to ask questions and receive answers. I would try that and ask that question. Which is it?
Okay, thank you. And is
Hmm?
that meditation on your page as well?
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, just put my name and then put meditation, questions, and answers. Just put those two keywords. There's only one, and it'll come up. What I will do too is when I upload this, I will put it in the description for you.
Thank
I'll
you
just
again, Agnes. I really
no,
appreciate it.
yeah, no problem. I'll just write it down so I don't forget. Meditation to ask questions and receive answers. Yeah, because that's actually a really nice way to. The first one's automatic writing. And if you want to listen to a video about that, there's a YouTube I did called Dissolving Fears in 20 Minutes. Now, I'm using fear as an example in that one, but you can use worry, anxiety, anger, whatever it is. So I'll put that in the description as well. But if you want to find it before I upload this, you can find it. And it just gives you, I'm actually working through something of my own. And I share with you how I did it with the automatic writing. I'm sharing it with you as it's happening so that you can see how it works.
Okay, thank you again.
No worries. Okay, so the visioning and the visualizing. I'm going to read this a little bit again because it is, as Elaine asked, like, how do you know which is which? And they sound similar, but one is you directing a specific imaginal scene with your mind to you're launching it, you're sending it out. The other one is you're sitting, you're receiving, and you're receptive to what comes. You say, what is it that you would have me know today? Or you ask a specific question, like about a specific person or a job interview or what's happening with your sick relative in hospital, whatever it is that's really troubling you. So I'll read the little tiny bit that she says about the difference between visioning and visualizing again. I am asked so often the difference between visualizing and visioning. Visualizing is a mental process governed by the reasoning or conscious mind. That's right, because we think of it before we go into visualize, or we pick a meditation that's a specific visualization, and then we go in and we follow it, or we do it, we guide it. Okay? Whereas the student should train his mind to receive these flashes of inspiration. And that's the visioning. Visioning is a spiritual process governed by intuition or the superconscious mind. The student should train his mind to receive these divine flashes of inspiration and work out the divine pictures through definite leads. When a man can say, I desire only that which God desires for me, his false desires fade from consciousness. And his new set of blueprints is given him by the master architect, the God within. God's plan for each man transcends the limitation of the reasoning mind and is always the square of life, containing health, wealth, love, perfect self-expression, or what we call work. Many a man is building for himself an imaginal bungalow when he should be building a palace. If a student tries to force a demonstration through the reasoning mind, he brings it to a standstill. I will hasten it, said the Lord. He should act only through intuition or definite leads. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently. Trust also in him, and he will bring it to pass. I have seen the law work in the most astonishing manner. For example, a student stated that it was necessary for her to have $100 by the following day. It was a debt of vital importance which had to be met. I spoke the word, declaring spirit was never too late and that the supply was at hand. That evening, she phoned me of the miracle. She said that the thought came to her to go to her safety deposit box at the bank to examine some papers. She looked over the papers, and at the bottom of the box was a new $100 bill. She was astounded and said she knew she had never put it there, for she had gone through the papers many times. It may have been a materialization as Jesus materialized the loaves and the fishes. Man will reach the stage where his word is made flesh or materializes instantly. The fields ripe with harvest will manifest immediately, as in all of the miracles of Jesus Christ. There is a tremendous power alone in the name Jesus Christ. It stands for truth made manifest. He said, whatsoever ye ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. The power of this name raises a student into the fourth dimension, where he is freed from all astral and psychic influences. He becomes unconditioned and absolute, as God himself is unconditioned and absolute. I have seen many healings accomplished by using the words in the name of Jesus Christ. Christ was both person and principle, and the Christ within each man is his Redeemer and salvation. The Christ within is his own fourth dimensional self, the man made in God's image and likeness. This is the self which has never failed, never known sickness or sorrow, was never born, and has never died. It is the resurrection and the life of each man. No man cometh to the Father save by the Son, meaning that God, the universal, working on the place of the particular, becomes the Christ in man, and the Holy Ghost means God in action. So daily man is manifesting the Trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Man should make an art of thinking. The master thinker is an artist and is careful to paint only the divine designs upon the canvas of his mind. And as he paints these pictures with masterly strokes of power and decision, having perfect faith that there is no power to mar their perfection and that they shall manifest in his life the ideal made real. All power is given man through right thinking to bring his heaven upon his earth, and this is the goal of the game of life. The simple rules are fearless faith, non-resistance, and love. May each reader be now freed from that thing which has held him in bondage through the ages, standing between him and his own, and know the truth which makes him free. Free to fulfill his destiny, to bring into manifestation the divine design of his life, health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Here's some of her denials and affirmations. So this one is for prosperity. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace in perfect ways. For right conditions. Every plan my Father in heaven has not planned shall be dissolved and dissipated, and the divine idea now comes to pass. For right conditions again. Only that which is true of God is true for me. For I and the Father are one. For faith. As I am one with God, I am one with my good. For God is both the giver and the gift. I cannot separate the giver from the gift. For right conditions. Divine love now dissolves and dissipates every wrong condition in my mind, body, and affairs. Divine love is the most powerful chemical in the universe and dissolves everything which is not of itself. For health, divine love floods my consciousness with health, and every cell in my body is filled with light. For the eyesight, my eyes are God's eyes. I see with the eyes of the Spirit. I see clearly the open way. There are no obstacles on my pathway. I see clearly the perfect plan. For guidance, I am divinely sensitive to my intuitive leads and give instant obedience to thy will. For the hearing, my ears are God's ears. I hear with the ears of the Spirit. I am non-resistant and I am willing to be led. I hear glad tidings of great joy. For right work, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give a perfect service for perfect pay. For freedom from all bondage, I cast this burden on the Christ within and I go free. And we have just finished the book. So Florence is wonderful for affirmations. That gives you a few to play around with. Does anyone want to ask anything, say anything? That was probably one of her most famous books. The Game of Life and Your Word is Your Wand, I think, are the two that she's known for. Wendy?
And good
Hi.
afternoon, good evening. And sorry, I missed 2 classes. I had to go on an emergency trip, so sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
And how are we going to overcome uh, the fear of death? You know, that's where I was kind of, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. And it was really hard for me. Even though I put a lot of work on all of these, I understand. And consciousness is the only reality and all those things. And I was
Yeah.
reading, but when reality comes, it's stuck on our face. It's really hard, right?
Mm.
So, what are your coping mechanisms for that?
Are you talking about your own or someone else?
Yeah, actually, I have my own fears. Yes, my sister's husband died. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where it's
Mm.
close relative and close
Yeah.
relation and did not expect. And literally being there in the hospital and looked
Yeah.
at him for 10 days and then,
Yes.
kind of hard.
Yes. Definitely. And I think when it's someone close, it does make it so real, Wendy. I think it's reminding ourselves, that we don't have control. We don't. It's like we're born and we die, and that's the part of life that we not because you can't prepare for it, I don't think, but you can definitely remind yourself that we are here for a limited amount of time, and you know, it's either we die or someone else dies. And whether you fear it or whether you don't fear it, it really doesn't matter. It's going to happen anyway. So it's, I think, making peace with the understanding of this as best we can. And when someone passes away that's quite close to us, it reminds us again that this is how it is, and that this is the rule. This is the rule for everyone. No one gets to live longer than, I don't know how old the oldest person is, but there are some that live over 100 in different parts of the world. But there will come a point where the body gives up and lets go. And it's saying, I'm going to make the best of this, and I'm going to remind myself that if someone that's close to me passes away, that reminds me that I need to really live, because they have now transitioned and they are no longer here to be able to do that themselves. So I'm going to remember that it's not about being here and suffering and not getting what I want and being at the mercy, but to say, I'm going to practice prayer and meditation to keep my conscious contact with infinite intelligence. And that is, if I make that a practice, I think it makes the transition easier. As best you can. It's not
Yeah.
perfection. It's not perfection, Wendy. I think it's just, doing it as best you can. And I do think it's normal to have fears about death when someone close to you has died. I think it's very normal. It brings back to the surface how fragile we really are.
Yeah,
We are
it is.
fragile.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really, in
It's
front of the
quite
eyes,
scary. Yeah.
scary, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you so much for this insight. I'm recovering and I'm doing your meditations for
Yeah.
forgiveness and, certain things that comes up, and I'm
Yeah.
completely doing all the meditations mostly to
Yeah.
release everything,
Yeah.
and
And
I cannot
also,
be in my routine work because of this. It takes
yeah.
time to recover. So,
Ah, it does. And you know what? You just
uh-huh.
cry as much as you need to, because grief is a big part of
Yeah.
recovering. We're emotional creatures, so we can't just go, oh, well, that's done and let's get on with our lives.
Yeah.
We feel the loss in our hearts. We feel
Right.
it. And I mean, you can practice. I cast this grief, loss upon whatever you prefer to use, source, God, infinite intelligence, universe, within, and I go free, you know. But I don't think it's just jumping over it and pretending it didn't happen, or that, you know,
Right.
and you're not, it doesn't sound like you're doing that. So
No. No, I'm actually remembering, you know, body dies, not the soul. Soul still lives. So
that's
it's
it.
just only the body, right? So everybody has the same idea. So I'm, you know, literally processing that. Even then, when he was in the ICU and in the hospital, I could feel it. And I actually, you know, because of this work or something, I literally felt like he is dying, you know, almost he is gone. And when I went over there, he was awake and he recognized me. And almost doctors had said that he did not get consciousness for 2 days in ICU. And then when I reached in India and I saw him, he completely recognized it. He got all his memory back and he was talking to me. And he felt like he was recovering. And suddenly he was, you know, I spoke to him 6 p.m., 9 p.m., he was gone.
So. It was gone, yeah. It's a strange thing, that first 24 hours, isn't it? It's just a strange feeling.
Yeah. Especially a very close relative, right? I couldn't see my sister. She's not very spiritual like this.
Yeah.
And I was talking about my sister earlier, a couple of weeks back, I think, you know, I was like giving forgiveness to her and forgive her and everything. I think this is part of that. I was preparing myself. I felt like that.
Wow.
You know, eventually I was preparing myself for her. And it was, you know, as a matter of fact, my parents still live. This is the hardest thing. They are seeing my sister, and he is not only my sister's husband, but he's my mother's brother. Close related. So yeah, that's where this is whole thing. But anyway.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay, much better than last week and previous weeks. So much more better now. I'm settling down, kind of, you know, jet lag and all kind of things, right? So it's a long flight, long journey, and short trip, no sleep during that time. Even then, I was trying to meditate. And I was doing EFT tapping. I was doing at least a couple of progressive muscle relaxations and all those things every day to keep up with myself. I helped a little bit. Yes, thank you.
That's good, Wendy.
And with that, another question, are you going to continue with any other book?
I will start. What I'll do is I'll put a post up on the community tab and say, okay, do you want to do Neville? Do you want to do Florence? Do you want to do Michael Singer? Do you want to do, and I'll just see what the majority is, and then I will read that book. So we'll start again in the new year, and I'll do a video to announce it so that you know. And I mean, I'm happy to read any of the books that people would love to read, especially the ones that are older and dead, because they're where the really good knowledge is, in my opinion. So yeah.
Have you read this book called Impersonal Life?
No.
From Joseph Bernard?
No.
He actually, I think one person in I don't remember his name. He actually gave out thousands of books to everyone, that Impersonal Life.
Yeah.
And when he was dying, next to him was that book. So he adored that book like anything. And I read recently that book. It is very hard to read.
Okay.
It is exactly what it was written in 1912. It's kind of a channeled book, I think. It's a small book. It's not a very big book, but it is a channeled book. And this book talks about, I am is God. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
This, when we read this book, it's really feeling like we have nothing else. That's it, consciousness. And I felt like Neville took all these concepts from that book.
Quite possible. I mean, a lot of Neville stuff's from the Bible too. So Neville's teachings are not really Neville's teachings. They were there before.
Right. So, but this book probably, just a thought in case if anyone wants to read it, they can. So it's called Impersonal Life from
By
Joseph
who?
Bernard.
How do you spell the surname?
Benner. Bernard. Yeah. Nenner.
Benner. Okay, no problem. Thank
Joseph
you, Wendy.
Bernard. And yeah, it's I have that physical book. I bought it after reading that book. It really have every page I just highlighted every word.
Wonderful.
That's how this book was. So
some books really are that good, aren't they? They just really hit us in the right spot at the right time. That's great.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Akbar.
Could you answer Air Compass's question first? I think she wanted to ask a question, and then I'll ask a question.
And then I'll come back to you.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, sure. Air Compass, you are up next.
Hi, Agnes. It's Dawn.
Hi, Dawn. I wasn't sure if it was you. I looked at the photo and I thought, I'm not 100% sure. Hello, my lovely. What can I do for you?
No, I couldn't figure out how to change my name. So,
Oh, no problem.
no, I was trying to figure out how to ask this question, but I had a bit of a situation this week, and basically my unfortunately, I think I indirectly created a situation I didn't want to create at work, and basically it is a lot of thoughts through fear in terms of security around work. And basically, I think in a 3D way, I reflected my own thoughts back to myself. And I know it goes to mental diets and so forth. And generally speaking, I've been quite good at learning that, because it's been a really long lesson I've been learning for like over a year. But I'm wondering what Florence says about mental diets. And, it's just really hard when you have to talk about a situation at work when Neville says we're not supposed to talk about it at all, and then you don't accidentally manifest something that you don't want to. So,
yeah.
Or you're frustrated, or you're exhausted, or you're tired, or you're worried. So, you know what I mean? It's not that I'm really trying to let my thoughts get away from me, but I think I indirectly created the situation I did not want to create.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would probably look at, in regards to Florence, what she was saying tonight about, I cast the burden of such and such, this situation. You don't have to say what it is because you know what it is. I cast this situation upon the Christ within, the God within, whatever word you prefer, the infinite intelligence within, and I go free. So you're getting rid of it. You're shifting out of the problem into the solution, because the idea is to pull away from what's not working, what went wrong, why did this happen, I don't want to be stuck in this, get me out of here, oh my goodness, what did, and you just you go around the wheel again. So I would do that, and I would also have a look at, probably go back and listen to this. I don't know what time you hopped on this recording, but she did, when I was reading the affirmations for right conditions. Did you hear that bit?
Yes.
Okay, there's 3 in particular. I'll read them to you now, so they're at the end of this recording. Every plan my Father in heaven has not planned shall be dissolved and dissipated, and the divine idea now comes to pass. So basically, you're correcting the problem into a solution within your consciousness, within yourself. Okay? Divine love now dissolves and dissipates every wrong condition in my mind, body, and affairs. This, in this case, is in your affairs and also in your mind, because it's playing on you. Divine love is the most powerful chemical in the universe and dissolves everything which is not of itself. So that might be a good one to practice. And there is one more. Only that which is true of God is true of me, for I and the Father are one. That one probably not as good as the other two. But it is, she calls them denials and affirmations. So you got to deny what's going on and you've got to affirm that it's corrected. So you're stepping out of that into this, out of that into this, every time your mind goes back to it. So, and it's praying for the divine restoration in my affairs as well. That's probably one of my favorite ones. I don't think we read that one today, but I now pray for the divine restoration in my work-related affairs. And everything falls into place for the highest good of all concerned, something like that. And that, and just do, once you get, from all these bits I've given you, tighten it up into a sentence that is more fitting. If you want to say, you know, if you want to just use the words in my work affairs, so you don't have to go over what the problem is. And then make that one affirmation and repeat it. I would repeat it all the way to work, because you're then pre-paving, correcting it and dissolving and resolving it.
Okay.
No, because you've got to dissolve it within you so that it will reflect itself on the outside.
Right. Okay. And you know, I've always liked Florence's, you know, I have the perfect job, I have the perfect service for perfect service. I'm jumbling it all up right now, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's, I'll read it to you. I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay.
Yes. And I remember, because I think when I started following you way back in 2014.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So we've been together for a while, Dawn. My goodness, that's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah.
Well, we're still going along.
Yeah.
We still have work to do. But that one was at the time was a really important one, and I really think that really set the paving, but it took a lot longer, probably because I wasn't as aligned as I am now. But I was wondering, Florence, like Neville says, like now rather than, you know, in the future, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Yes, so thank you.
No problem. I hope you can just kind of whittle it down.
Yeah.
Try a few different versions and go, okay, this one feels the easiest to remember. This one feels the tightest one that meets the situation at hand. And then I'm going to practice that. And I always think doing things on the way to work, if you've got a work issue, is a great place to pre-pave and to tighten up. Instead of just going to work feeling miserable and going over the problem, then you get there and it's still lingering like a bad smell, you know? You make the attempt to make it better through your consciousness.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Pleasure. Akbar.
All right. And yes, hi everyone. We did your faith, your fortune, didn't we? The last study group, and we didn't finish it. Wouldn't it be worth
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because there wasn't people kind of dwindled off, so we didn't finish it. Yeah, that's a point. That's a point. Because it feels funny having not finished it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it was on lesson.
You're right. Yeah.
We did it for 4 weeks or 5 weeks, didn't we? And then it stopped.
That might be a good one to just go back to and people that, you know, I haven't done the first part, doesn't matter, because they can go back and watch the replays. Yeah, that's an idea. I forgot about that. Wonderful idea, because that's a really good book too, the Neville book. Yeah. So many good books. There's so many good authors, you know, it's just working through it. Okay. I will, actually, that'll be the decision act, Bars, to go back to that and finish that first.
Yeah, otherwise it looks weird.
It does, and I've forgotten that it wasn't completed, but I'm glad you reminded me, because yeah, I don't like it when there's a playlist there and then there's only half of it, and that's the only one that's never been finished. So
And we use the same Zoom link for that.
no, what I'll do, Wendy, is I'll do an announcement video. I'll announce it. You email me if you want to come once I tell you. I'm actually going to move this class because a lot of people like to go out, especially over this side, because we're in the UK, Europe. This is our Saturday night. So people do like to go out. So I'm going to shift it to Sunday night. And then that way it's just the day before work. And then it's not so bad. And then it would be the Sunday morning for those of you in, you know, US, Canada, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, but I will announce it. I'll let you know, and then we'll continue.
Yeah,
I love reading these books. It's so good going back over these books, because there's so much good information. And when you are sometimes in the middle of something, you just end up reading the very thing you need to read that frees you from it, or you can practice that week and focus your way out of that situation because you've read something that's really helpful. Well, thank you, everybody. Gabriella,
Thank you.
Maria, thank you for joining.
Thank you very much
My
for your
pleasure.
great classes. Thank you.
My pleasure, everybody. And what I'll do is I'll upload again the video. If you want to watch the replays and go through them again, they'll be up there permanently on the channel in a nice little tight playlist, so it's easy for you to find. Lots of love, everybody, and have a good day, morning, noon, or night, depending where you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.